look, I'm a solution guy. If you give me a problem, I will hit my head to the wall until I find a solution to it. So I'm really a hacker, not a programmer hacker, but I'm a hacker in different things. You have in Romania now the highest percentage of developers in the active population, 7%. We are number one in Europe. So the chances to hit into a developer if you're going to the metro, it's the highest in Romania than anywhere else.
Today, we have the privilege of diving into the business journey of Cosmin Curticapean, co-founder and CEO of LENDOX, a Romanian tech startup launched in 2016 that specializes in alternative financing for small and medium-sized enterprises, which has attracted a total investment of over 3 million euros.
I mean, I read lots of books and everything, and I found lots of bullshit and also some interesting stuff depending on case to case. But again, I think authenticity. Because, leadership, in my opinion, it's something that it's organically spread, and somehow it's kind of a type of an energy. It's not necessarily the way you behave, the way you communicate or anything. It's the way you live, if you want, how you exist. So, and I was lucky enough to meet my wife in 2012 because previously, before the financial crisis, I was building my businesses and leadership and everything based on KPIs, because I'm a finance guy, and I built very nice businesses, but all of a sudden the financial crisis almost bankrupt from everything. And then in 2010 I found myself into almost empty space and starting from scratch, which was fine because at that time I also practicing these extreme sports. I had an accident, 7 broken ribs, everything with a snowmobile. So almost died. My partner from Germany died also in a car accident in May 2010, and basically I had to change my philosophy of business and everything. And from a mindset of goals in financial terms, I moved into mission, and I found myself into a position to build around my mission to help entrepreneurs, businesses, SMEs. And ever since, everything that I'm doing, all my activities, mentorship, business angeling, investing, my companies, everything is built around that mission.
Thank you for joining us, Cosmin. Growing up in Târgu Mureș, how did your upbringing shape you? And can you tell us more, about the Transylvanian culture, and how do you see this in your leadership style?
Not many people asked me such a question in the last years. Everybody's interested in more in how much you raise, what's your IRR and stuff like this. But and yeah, entrepreneurial culture and stuff, which are usually a bit synthetic and uptight, if you allow me to say so. Let me put it this way, I think entrepreneurship can be educated, but I guess the conjunction of events and people that you meet over your during your life, I think it might actually affect your skills in a good or a bad way in terms of being able to capture and adapt to risk. So in my case, it was the perfect combination and perfect environment actually for me to build as an entrepreneur. I started my first company in 1995. I've never been employed. So entrepreneurship is something that indeed my teenagerhood and my childhood were building for me, if you want. So in Transylvania, first of all, something that I'm trying to even somehow reflect into my businesses is authenticity. It's something that if you want, you still have in a lot of rural spaces, and it's already well known that in Transylvania and in Maramureș, for example, in the north of Transylvania, you have lots of spaces where time like stand on put for centuries. That's why you have so many well-known people like King Charles having properties and they're coming and visiting these places. And for me, this was a very good environment because it's totally different that we have today for our children and for the new generations. It's something that maybe it will be totally deleted in maybe a few years. But this authenticity that comes through whatever sports you were practicing, the way the pedagogues and the trainers were actually taking care of us, the way they pushed, the way that bullying, it was not a word, it was just educating and pushing boundaries. It was a space where you needed to understand what is respect against values, against more powerful, against more. It was something that it can build your character. And in business you have this situation that you, in order to you need to always be under a mindset of low expectations so that you can build stuff. And these expectations can be somehow or the only way you can have low expectations, I guess, is through character, because character builds resilience. And between all these three elements, I guess authenticity and something that can be pulled out, especially in my generation. I was born in 76, I'm 48. So it was Ceausescu time. I was playing a very tough sport. I was playing water polo, and I was a swimmer. And I'm telling you, totally different things that are against what is happening today. So I guess all this stuff, and then I started to perform extreme sports. And I know most of the population would say people that are doing really and pushing boundary in extreme sports are probably crazy, which might be true. But I think that this comes with trying to perform and be much better than yesterday and overcome to at least against your own limits. And this gives freedom of mind. This gives, again, resilience to risk. It gives something very powerful. I think it's a superpower, actually. That Darwin said that not in times of crisis, not the smartest and the most powerful people will actually survive, but the ones that can adapt faster, which is totally true even in business today, with all the AI and with everything that is happening, with all the shifting of the economies and the globalization and stuff. It's more and more required that you have adaptability, and this actually was built, and it can be built also throughout all these activities that can push you to that direction.
Mm-hmm. Were there any early influences that led you towards a career in tech and business over 3 decades ago? And, walk us a little bit through the journey of growing up in Târgu Mureș and then coming to the capital, to Bucharest.
Sure. My father, he was an electrician, and he was really a very good handyman. Mostly anything that was happening in Ceausescu's time in your house, when you didn't have services. If you wanted to paint your house, you were doing your house. If you wanted to change a plug, you were changing your plug. Nobody could do it for you. Or at least just few professionals, but people were really self-servicing themselves. And my father was really, really very, very good, and still is today in fixing things. And actually captured this kind of engineering mindset from him. And I was a very, very curious, young child and then a teenager. And I was always in chemistry. I was always in some different workshops and everything. Not really the type of children that was outside, playing the ball. More, I didn't play football, and that was strange for a Romanian, to play in the yard football until high school. I guess it was first time I was playing it, and I was, and I liked, also guitar. And my mother, for example, she was very, very, very tenacious in actually selling in business. She's that skill. And my grandfather from my mother's side, they were like very like negotiating everything. How much it cost? That no, I have to give you that. Nothing was actually fixed. Everything was on that bargaining style, So and later, after the revolution, when capitalism started in Romania, my parents were doing some businesses, and then later they were hoping that actually I was taking over. But actually, as soon as I went to university, in the first year of university, I thought I would do my own business. So I was doing totally separate stuff. But indeed, we were tuning cars with my father in the garage. I remember now that we had this. There was this Barkas. It's a minivan. But if you know the car Trabant from the east part of Germany, there was this van barcas. And I remember that actually we take this barcas, which was quite new, and it was in 92 or something. And then we put it into garage, and we bought from Germany, from a damaged car, a very new Audi, a very powerful engine. And this barcas had the 2-stroke engine, which is like, that stuff. And we changed that. And we were going with 180 kilometers per hour on the freeway in Turkey with this car. And people were looking like, how the fuck is this car is going so fast? It was really, really interesting. And actually, we were learning all the time. My father was really creative from that perspective. And I guess I picked it from there. But the first business it was in 97, Connex popped in Romania. And it was also a very powerful business school for me. And these companies from the US, Telesystem International Wireless and Touch Communication USA, they put together this company to do this mobile networking. And it was the fastest growing, actually, network, a fun fact, or an interesting fact. It was the fastest growing mobile telecommunication company in the world in Romania. In 97 in March, they targeted 100,000 customers in Romania, and they had more than 1.5 million or something by December. So it was like crazy. Anyhow, there was keep commercializing and advertising the X day. I didn't know what it is, but it looked very technical. So I tried to find out what that is. It was in 96 at the end of the year. And I remember that I went to Bucharest, and I came, because you asked, I'm now transitioning to Bucharest. And I came to Bucharest, and I was already coming for 1 or 2 years for the other business, which was kind of fixing electric networks and stuff like this. I was buying stuff from here, and I was coming to Bucharest, and on Nerva Traian Street they had this building, Connex, and I was looking to the most expensive cars that are in the parking place, so that I talk with somebody. And at some point I thought that guy is an executive because he had a driver. So I went to him and I said, look, I'm from Târgu, I'm from Transylvania. I want to open a shop there. How can I do that? And he said, no, you can't. I mean, we need networks, George Kopos, Anna, Samsung, whatever. They had their shops with network, and you can't do it. Then a few days later, I went and I started to talk with the guard guy in the lobby. And I was joking with him, waiting for somebody. And funny, there was some refurbishing upstairs, and they had the meeting room at the ground floor. And the guy comes again. And I said, no, you need to help me. I mean, I'll keep coming. You push me out to the door, I'll come to the window. Please tell me, how can I do a shop of mobile phones? Because I want to do it. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm very smart. I was bragging myself. And the guy said, no, look, I will give you contact. And he gave me a contact of a lady that was taking care of Transylvania. DCM, it was called Dealer Channel Manager. And this Miss Moga, I started to talk with her, and I was very bullish. Then they hooked me up with a company in Cluj that was really a big network. AGS, it was the name of the time. And I got a sub-dealer code. And I started a small shop. I went in Târgu Mureș, and there was this, how these shopping centers are. And they have these large lobbies and entrances, and they were not used. I didn't have the money for rent, inside this shopping center. It was in the center. And I went to the guys and I said, look, I can give you some money to give me on the corner in the front, and I will make it very nice. And refurbished the lobby with my money. And I made with my father some furniture, and we were selling 3 mobile phone types. And this was in 97 in April. In 99, I already opened an expert shop in Brașov, already had 8 shops in Romania as a network. In 2004, I exited of a network of 28 shops, including some in Germany and Austria. And then I actually switched to telecom. We were doing some voice over IP, which was already on the internet. Then we started software and outsourcing services. And basically, this is how technology started, Bucharest started, and everything else. And basically, kind of large business, because actually I exited towards Vodafone at the time.
Interesting journey, a lot of experiences, and I love it that you built around Romania. So we're always focused on here, on the big city. With this in mind, how has your leadership style developed through those early days to now, when you're like building and growing an international tech venture?
Look, I'll be honest with you. There are at least two things. So basically, I have a mindset of a child. So I'm still 28 clock blocked. So that's one thing. I'm not sure it's good or bad.
You have the energy. A child has a lot of energy.
So it is what it is. So can I say? Second, I don't know what leadership is.
In your view?
I mean, I read lots of books and everything, and I find lots of bullshit and also some interesting stuff depending on case to case. But again, I think authenticity. Because, leadership, in my opinion, it's something that it's organically spread, and somehow it's kind of a type of an energy. It's not necessarily the way you behave, the way you communicate or anything. It's the way you live, if you want, how you exist. So, and I was lucky enough to meet my wife in 2012, because previously, before the financial crisis, I was building my businesses and the leadership and everything based on KPIs, because I'm a finance guy, and and I built very nice businesses, but all of a sudden the financial crisis almost bankrupt from everything. And then in 2010, I found myself into almost empty space and starting from scratch, which was fine, because at that time I also practicing these extreme sports. I had an accident, 7 broken ribs, everything with a snowmobile.
Oh.
Yeah, so almost died. My partner from Germany died also in a car accident in May 2010, and basically I had to change my philosophy of business and everything. And from a mindset of goals in financial terms, I moved into mission, and I found myself into a position to build around my mission to help entrepreneurs, businesses, SMEs. And ever since, everything that I'm doing, all my activities, mentorship, business angeling, investing, my companies, everything is built around that mission. So it's something. And again, I think that authenticity, like I was mentioning my wife, that I was lucky to meet her in 2012, because she's an actress with a lot of recognition from the public, right? They traditionally tend to either go into placing kind of an avatar against the public in PR. Either they are very authentic and then they feature that out there. I'm lucky enough that my wife is the second segment, and she's extremely authentic. She's very transparent. For me, this was very strange, because traditionally in Romania, and actually in the Balkans, the business was, because the markets were so narrow, then everything that you were saying could be actually leveraged by somebody else. So it was a secretomony. It was kind of a space of keeping secrets, everything in a stealth. You build something you never tell. You have problems you never tell. It was this. And then from her I learned that actually being transparent was, and this was actually the last drop into my, let's say, in what I am today. Let's put it this way, okay? So I had this authenticity. I'm pretty sure that was it, but it was very much multiplied by this transparency, and I became extremely transparent with nothing to hide all the time on the. So and this actually it's also something that goes into family, how you raise your family, how you are actually perceived by everybody, how do you talk with somebody, how do you feel that the more important person or less important person. I mean, it gives you this feeling of equality to mostly everything that you're doing, and I guess that's the leadership, in my opinion.
It has a lot to do with resilience. Do you believe that maybe people built with a culture of sustainability, slow life, focusing on the balance between personal and private, have more resilience?
No. I don't think they do. I mean, it might be on different parts of their lives, but sometimes things like this, especially when you're thinking this way, things are cracking. So over talking about this balance of between professional life and personal life, I think it does lots of harm, actually, because you have a lot, at least people that are more than other in the front of other and have audiences in different spaces, like speakers, like I think that they kind of form opinions, and other people pick up on and build beliefs based on whatever they read, they hear, and everything. Unfortunately, we see a lot of people that instead of having an authentic life, they actually try to build segments, and they are segregated. And there is no lymph, there is no unifying liquid to actually connect things together. And I heard people that are saying, look, in order to be a good professional and I want to be a good entrepreneur, I need to be peaceful, and for that I need a work balance life very good, and in my personal life I have to have a family and go to vacation and do that and that. And of course you have to do it. You have to do all that stuff. But honestly, I think that the key is wrong, because if you're putting the alliances too much into splitting your life in two, I think this becomes, and this is prone to a lot of errors, because they segregate. When your life is your life, and you, especially as an entrepreneur, professional life, your life and personal life, it's the same shit. There's nothing different.
The same line.
Yeah. So in this case, then you have no, I think it's more authentic again.
Moving forward with this authenticity in building, I want to tap into, business growth and challenges in your professional life, or your entrepreneurial. Let's call it entrepreneurial, builds all professional and personal. So we all know that SMEs are crucial to the global economy, but are also underfunded. What specific pain points did you identify in the market, and how does LENDOX, which I understand the transition from iFactor, address these challenges through the solution, through the AI-powered credit intelligence solution?
I just mentioned that after 2010, I switched and I had this mission to help SMEs entrepreneurs. And actually, I guess it started from a frustration, because I bankrupt after I was so successful with hundreds of employees, tens of millions of euro in turnover. And I started to look very much into what is going on. Why did that happen? How could it be happen? Because in my theory and in my very short business experience in life, I could not foresee such an event that will actually, because my businesses were really split in different industries and eggs were in different baskets. So it was kind of safe, but still not. So I looked to the banks, and the banks just increased the interest rates and everything. And one of the reasons actually that I had problem, and then I started to talk with other entrepreneurs, were that we were not able to actually have a proper finance, or if it did, we were under a lot of pressure in terms of different reserve matters and different kind of contractual options the bank had against us. And of course we were like the promise, of a great partnership that the banks were doing when they extending a loan. Even in case they were extending it, it was turning into non-partnership, because they were just increasing the interest rates and everything, and then you were nowhere in where to find the solution. So I started to have this frustration, and I remember in 2014, my friend Hans Broekhuizen, he was Chief Risk Officer of Royal Bank of Scotland at the time, and then ING. Previously ING, and I went to him and I said, look, we need to build something to actually help SMEs compete the banks, help SMEs to get funding and compete with the banks. And basically this later iFactor became a peer-to-peer marketplace where SMEs were applying for loans. We were performing the QIC and underwriting, and then high net worth individuals and banks could actually bid for these applications. And there was a form of, again, trying to help entrepreneurs and SMEs, because we understand that the problem is huge. Meanwhile, I was also educated in Oxford Fintech, the mechanics of the credit risk assessment in Middlesex University, got a large network of professionals in the world, and having so much depth into understanding the problem, it was just showing me that the problem is more real. It's extremely real, and not only that it's real, but also the bits and parts of how it could be solved. And first we tried to solve it this way. Then we run into this issue that with iFactor in 2021, because we incorporated in 2016, but then we really launched in 2019, 2020 the platform itself. And then while performing business, we realized that it was prone to, let's say, barriers of scaling and really making a large impact. One of them is something that unfortunately most of the businesses, digital business and tech businesses are against: the digital marketing. Digital marketing become extremely expensive, and you have large tech that are capturing a lot of your turnover, so that they will actually channel some customers to you, index you where it's the case. If you don't do it and you don't pay any longer, then you're on page 42 from whatever search engines or whatever. So that's a real issue. And then another thing is that in the same space is that the noise is huge. I mean, everybody does marketing. I mean, value prop, it's communicating, over-communicated, and in fact, it's very difficult for customers to really understand where is the real value proposition for them. And that was one. And second, it was that the financial literacy of the entrepreneurs and high net worth individuals was very low. So we had to hold hands all the time in actually doing deals, because first ones, they didn't understand how actually they have to apply. And for entrepreneurs, it's funny if you say factoring, revolving, overdraft, cash flow statement. All these words are bureaucracy. They're like afraid, like, no, my account. I know I have to do my business. It's like, so they don't have resources to hire CFOs,
Yeah.
And they are really, really scared about all these notions. On the other hand, high net worth individuals, they have money and they have vital and everything, but they were very keen to actually attack this new asset class, which was very profitable, but they didn't know how to read these credit reports that we were performing, like similar with the bank grade compliant risk reports. And then we had to hold hands. Look, this is this, and we got this issue that in 2021 we closed our round and we had seeders. We are the only Romanian company raising on seeders, the Republic Europe currently, and they had to, because the Romanian entity, and we had to adopt the shareholders agreement and legislation and everything. It was taking a long time. So in order for us to have the money in the account after raising, it was like a long period, like almost 12 months, 11 months or something. And we talked with my co-founders and my CTO, and we said, look, let's try to bring a semantic model. Generative AI was not yet in the space. Let's bring a semantic model that actually, with their own logical metrics, actually they will be able to talk with the tool and understand what they are against. So move away from domain expertise in terms of finance, and just bluntly put it, into discussion and understand it. And we started to build this, and we needed data. And the data, and we actually identified another problem. Always banks are looking to SMEs into under a corporate risk model. So for everybody's understanding, it's looking to some numbers from the balance sheet that actually expresses the past economical performance of the company under a model of linear regression. Does it make sense? We look back to see if you can have capability of reimbursement in the future. Unfortunately, with all the crisis and everything that's happening now, everything is shifting very fast. So inflation is growing because in Lebanon starts something, or in Ukraine or something. And then these numbers and all this data, it's garbage because it's shifting a lot and it doesn't show any longer the capability of reimbursement. That's one thing. Second thing is that if I'm an SME and I don't really have a good cash flow now, I will ask my accountant, look, I want to pay less taxes this month or next month. And then the accountant changes, some accounts there, and they do it. Especially there are some legislation and some systems in Eastern Europe that are easy to shift. And also in UK, it's not really far from this. And you end up of having actually on the table a small ticket with a high risk, with unreliable scoring data, and your model says rating 7, 2A, not good. Go to sleep. So basically, we thought we should build something to really understand the capability of reimbursement from real-time data and actually capturing the morphology of that business, not the company, not the people, but the combination of them, including portfolio of customers, portfolio suppliers, their shareholders, what are the industries they are performing in, what is the macro indicators, how do we actually read some predictions in the macroeconomy, and how they actually might affect the business that we are analyzing. And we actually started to build crawler, scrapers, computer vision RPAs, so that we capture data from mostly any kind of support. From videos, from photos, from internet, from media, from social media, from digital footprint in general, from open banking transaction behavior. We connected with APIs based on PSD2 on open banking, and we started to augment data also from there. We ended up having a credit intelligence service, because as soon as you put the fiscal code of the company or a tax code of the company, we were able, real time, to have a vast amount of data that now only had to actually be well interpreted so that we return some results that will be compliant with the flow of a lender. And it was like, let's go to some contest with it. And we won the Elevator Lab Grand Finale of Raiffeisen in Vienna in 2022, and we realized that we can actually help the gatekeepers of the lending market, which are the banks and other lenders, but also enterprises that are exposed, because trade finance is larger than banks, is not really actually covered by the banks, maybe advisory firms, to actually automate their processes, shorten them, reduce the cost, and have a much better view and understanding. So thin files to be actually straining files with a lot of data, with a lot of business potential, with everything. If you want a little bit in depth, something that is happening in venture capital when you raise equity, because there you don't have financial data. You have business potential, you're looking to the team, you're looking to different. And in real economy, this was not performing ever, actually, for debt finance. And this is something that we've built. And after winning this, we identified that we should actually sell it as a SaaS to banks. We started to do so. And we ended up in having actually lending in a box. And lending in a box, it evolved from iFactor, Your Money Faster, that was mostly factoring and other tools that we actually had to help SMEs, moved into a technology that is now shifting and changing the paradigm into how lenders are looking to these companies. Anyway, then, of course, the step was easy. We will move to corporates. We also moved into this digital end-to-end products and banks, like neobanks, that can buy from us the digital end-to-end risk assessment and data engagement for private individuals, for retail loans. So we are now agnostic in terms of.
We have continued to evolve. That's the secret from what I see. Adapting. Learning and adapting, growing, adapting, yes. I also want to tap into your knowledge of building, a fintech solution in a highly regulated ecosystem. What can you tell us about, how have you navigated the hurdles such as regulatory compliance, security, and technical scaling so far? And do you sense some challenges?
Look, I'm a solution guy. I mean, if you give me a problem, I will hit my head to the wall until I find a solution to it. So I'm really a hacker, not a programmer hacker, but I'm a hacker in different things. So when we first started, and I was telling about Hans, and then my banking co-founders, Manuel Costescu, Flavia, Richardson, they are very senior people in understanding banks and venture debt, and venture equity funding, and technology involved in financial services and fintech. And everybody was telling me, it's difficult, you have lots of barriers, so many challenges, regulations are so different. And I knew. That's why I started actually to learn and educate myself in understanding all these spaces, also through the lenses of technology and the cutting edge technologies, right? So I always stayed ahead with CFT, for example, Center of Finance and Entrepreneurship, Center of Finance, Technology and Entrepreneurship from London. Huy and Traman, the co-founders, they basically built the largest educational AI in finance platform in the world. And after actually being an alumni, I became an ambassador in Romania of this, and I built up a network, and after building up a network, we decided in my co-founders that we should burn some money, and not we were not really starting like a garage startup. Let's put it this way, okay? So we kind of have some funds. We bootstrapped kind of few millions, because you mentioned that we raised 3. We didn't actually keep the counting of how much, at least in the bootstrapping phase. We were just putting services and effort into it, and it was a lot of effort. And we went into Middle East, and we got the first fintech license in Dubai, regulated by the IFC. But then the structure was not really reliable for VC funding, and we had to pivot. We've been in Austria, opening a company there. We were working with very large legal firms in understanding regulations, how we could actually perform there. I'm one of the founders of the Romanian Fintech Association. We are part of the board of the European Fintech Association. Through my position in the board there, and not only, I started to become an expert, and they started to consult me, and I've been in lots of roundtables and workshops with PSD2, PSD3, AI Act. Through my position from Techangels, a World Bank started to work with me in understanding how the financial intermediations to small and medium enterprises might be increased in Eastern Europe. And we are currently actually working, and they worked on the report, and we are currently now working to some measures to do that. With the National Bank of Romania, they have created even a report, and out of 10 proposals, 3 were from me, actually into actually being able to increase the financial intermediation of SMEs in Romania. All this space, and working also with a very large consultancy firms like KPMG, like now Ernst & Young, and some others, we created a strategy of freedom to operate. This is how we call it. And here you have the IPR protections and all the intellectual property rights that has to be protected, understand how the space works, including LENDOX. We knew 2 years ago that we will rebrand, and we were actually working on acquiring the lendox.com domain, and we negotiated with the broker almost 18 months until we got to the right price. And then it was the protection in the US and in Switzerland, in Europe, and everywhere. And after everything was finished, actually, we started to work on with a branding agency to do it. So it was a bit corporate style, not really startup-ish, but it is a space that it's dealing with the core banking things, highly regulated. And under this freedom to operate, you need to understand regulations. You need to be ahead of what will actually happen in just few months or maybe few years. You need to understand, and if you're seasoned like me into technology, I also invested in quite a few startups. I've seen thousands of pitches. I've been to mentor to hundreds of startups since 2016 when I started my position in Techangels. I have to say I'm lucky. I'm in a unique position in terms of technology and hypergrowth companies, understanding how venture capital works, being able to understand very well the fintech space and the lending space. Now, actually selling to banks in the last 2 years, it put me into another very good position of being able to do discovery on how all these flows of sales, so pre-approvals of the loans, underwriting processes work, monitoring phases with early warning systems, what is the compliance, how banks are building actually procedures and norms so that they are compliant with each product on each business line and everything. I could say that we now, and not only me, also a large part of my team, they have very good understanding on this. So indeed, I think we have built now a product that it's scalable and can be compliant mostly anywhere. We have already strategies, we know how to do it, we know how to go into acceleration programs, to partner with a bank, to adjust to one legislation or some specific regulations on specific geography. We know them, we know the people, we have the network. I think we are in a position to grow very fast if we don't then.
And with that in mind, can you walk us through more about the culture at LENDOX and who are the standout performers in the team? Let's shine a light on who was building with you here. And how do you keep, the team motivated and aligned and growing fast, as you're telling us, towards this, rapid growth, product development to keep innovating?
I will mention a few people first because you asked me, and then I will tell you something by contrary, okay? So that is not that I'm putting a negative light into all this, team, and without a team you can't do that and that and that. Entrepreneurs are really lonely wolves at first stages, and although you put together teams and everything, it's a lot of the work and the vision and everything and the energy that it's yours, or maybe two people. It really, this is the case in most situations. But then after you have been in so many businesses and you build and you understand this authenticity, actually it's able to deploy such an energy that the others either are scared of it, especially if you're very transparent, then people will know that it might not work, what you're doing, or what you're working today, it might be to the garbage tomorrow because you need to pivot and do something else. You're under discovery all the day. And, in our space, you need to bring a lot of people that have expertise in different corporations, so that they are kind of experts there. And it's really difficult for them to adapt. But still, I was extremely lucky to have, for example, Mihai, my co-founder, my CEO, Mihai Grosu. He's working with me for the last 25 years, I think. We are more like family, if you want. I mean, honestly, it's like, I have a sister, but he's my brother. Like, another brother is Sebastian Persecan, my CTO. He's a PhD in pervasive computing. I don't even know how to pronounce all the doctoral and names that they have, because they're fucking smart, and I'm the only non-PhD usually in the room. And Sebi, for example, he was working in technology and platforms and everything for all his life. He's based in Cluj. He worked for banks and companies in US, in Switzerland, in Germany, leading, teams and developers and everything in scaling products. It's you cannot bullshit him, It's I took him yesterday to Spotlight, and he was like, really, that his response immediately, Repeller Zone, GPTs and that. It's like fast. We were very lucky to have Alexandra, for example. Alexandra Iliuța, she's come from corporate. She was in the Middle East for many years working in aviation, and she's a tough lady. She's really on her feet, and sometimes difficult to work with. But we needed a DPO. I said, Alexandra, what should we do? We need a DPO that cannot be the founder. And there are some specific. No, I can take the course and I can be that, And she did it, and she got an international certification as DPO. And then we said, we need to put together some videos. We don't have money. We need to decrease the burn. No, I can do it. Problem. And you need this kind of people. You need this kind of people.
You gathered them. You were like a magnet in a way. What do you think brought you together with the rest of the team members, the core team? Was it the mission? Was it they wanted to change?
The point is that, look, I mentioned already that I have this philosophy of doing business with people, for the people, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So if you absorb that into any kind of philosophy of action that you're doing, even when you're recruiting, it's very important that you have that specific chemistry. And I know that everybody says that, and there are so many scientific ways to recruit and do that and that. But I'm extremely blunt between people when we talk, and in all honesty, we have a very strange way to capture these people. We didn't recruit them. I didn't recruit them. I pitched them. So first thing, when they were coming from these corporations, I went into a whiteboard and I showed them, look, these are the hyper growth companies. These are really real economy companies. this is what can happen with one company. This is how the statistic, how many die, what's happening all the day. And first thing, before actually even asking any question, I was telling them, if you are applying to this job, you are against this environment. Are you staying or not? And then questions started.
Challenge accepted, huh?
But even the questions are, I'm not even sure that I can say publicly what kind of questions I'm actually asking.
Then let's continue this conversation into the vast, the Romanian Fintech ecosystem, the Eastern Europe ecosystem, and globally. But, focusing, how do you perceive the current state of Fintech in Romania, maybe compared to regional countries and international countries? Where are we now? How do you feel it?
Non-existing.
Okay.
But it's
yes. Being honest.
Yeah. Look, we've done this Romanian Fintech Association, and up to a certain point, we were doing a great job, and after that, some of my colleagues were doing even a better job. So that's for sure. We want to be there, but I have a very strong opinion in these legacies of the economies. So we are small economies in many verticals. It's not only this. I was mentioning my wife being an actress. In the movie industry, it's a very narrow and very small market. And then you have actors that are, they are out of job. They have nothing to do, in there, and they do bartending and some other stuff. You have a lot of experts in corporations, in financial services, but mentality is like, what fintech? Excel, that's all. And it's not their fault. It's the fault of, again, the legacies, because you see, these banks are very good cows to milk, and they are not working on missions, and they don't have, they might have some values or whatever, but at the end, they work for profit. The profit is distributed to the shareholders. If this is enough, there is no pressure. And without pressure and without crisis, these incumbents, they are not really able to bring together close the stakeholders, together with domain experts, technical people. Still in banks, you talk about IT departments and innovation departments and stuff, but they're so fucking far from the domain experts, and that's a window of opportunity for us. But again, in order to stay relevant, it's one thing that you're in the United States, for example, and you do an innovation, and doing that innovation will expose you to market and capture value, and then increase your sales very, very fast. That will actually put you in the map of venture capital that will pour money a lot into you, so that you pivot and do the next thing that are, the cutting edge things that are in the evolvement of the digitalization of financial services. And it's another thing that you're struggling. You're going to, some businesses that can pay this much money. There is only one indicator that shows you that how difficult it is. It's ACV, annual contract value. So in Eastern Europe, everything that you want to do, it's very, very difficult, because for us it was a big struggle how we can make actually with the product, and how you can actually fit into a good enough ACV that would place you in 5 years with a potential revenue of over 100 million, so that this 100 million will turn into an appetite for VCs that will then look at you as a potential unicorn, which in my opinion is just a bullshit, that's it, and then come back and invest in you so that you are going further. And that's one thing. And then the other 1,000 other things that they can see as risk, you have to cover also those. And when you're on a small market, it's very difficult. That's one thing. And then there is also the curse of the geography. It exists, honestly. You have some founders that maybe are moving to larger markets, and we have some entrepreneurs with very well-known companies, startups from Romania, and they go to different other countries, and they still struggle. They struggle because when you're going to banks, you're going to anywhere, is one thing that you have been to school, and it doesn't matter from if you're an Indian, if you're Romanian, if you're Croatian, whatever nationality you are, you have studied in UK, you have studied in the States, you have a network, you have a colleague that it's in different bank, in that, and then immediately everything goes faster. Otherwise, you need to do everything 3 times harder or 10 times harder, and you need to do something 3 times better in order to achieve at least 50% of what they achieve with the same. So these are really existing things. I'm not actually bitching here about it because I'm really find them challenging, and actually it's one of the drivers that I have always in my businesses. When I had to when I started business in Germany, people were telling me, yeah, but you don't know that and that, you don't know the language. I learned the language. You don't know the culture. I moved there for a few months. I didn't learn the culture, but I get some grips about what's happening. And then I started to sell, and I understood things that are happening there, you know. And then I was bullish, and I how can I say? You need to create outliers. You need to be able to be creative all the time, into how to adapt to the thing. But it's harder.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. We went through your background, your entrepreneurship background. We went through, the team and the solution, building it, your initiatives as founder of Raw Fintech. And I'm curious now, with the hat of angel investor, everybody says we need more education, we need more entrepreneurs, we need more angel investors, VCs in Romania and in Central and Eastern Europe. How has your experience really been, and what are the chances of growing a bigger network of, high net worth individuals giving back to the innovation ecosystem? What are the chances of growing that network?
Look, we need more from anything. That's our human nature, that we need more always, from anything. And in my opinion, I think that there are organic things that create the demand, and it's the same with investing. You have startups, you have innovation, you have potential, you have skills, you have talents, you have everything. Then the capital will try to flow against those ecosystems, and we can see what happened in How to Web just yesterday, right? It was more investors than startups, and attendees. True. More purple, badges than blue, purple. I mean, I'm joking, but a lot of investors. Why? Well, the ecosystem is growing, and it's not growing like driven by we need something and we are doing something to capture. The ecosystem by itself, with the energy of the people, with a certain maturity that it's coming through, success stories, through many other channels, they bring those energies where you have in Romania now the highest percentage of developers in the active population, 7%. We are number 1 in Europe. I'm not sure that it is in the world or in Europe, but in Europe it's for sure, because until 2 years ago it was France, strangely, but it was France. So the chances to hit into a developer, if you're going to the metro, it's the highest in Romania than anywhere else. But these guys, until currently, they were working for companies where they earn a lot, and they have 2 apartments, 1 Tesla, something. And now they see the opportunity of switching to product, and they become startups. Mm-hmm. And Romania, it's large. We have Bulgaria as an example, and at Digitalk, we've been there with Marius Istrata, my colleague from Techangels, and some other colleagues, and we were discussing that it's funny because the Bulgarian ecosystem was actually having first risk capital, and then ecosystem started to grow on it, educated by these guys that knew already the game. In Romania, first we had the startups, some acceleration. We had a success story, UiPath, that actually put Romania on the map to have risk capital and then to grow the ecosystem. So it's actually vice versa. Still, the 2 ecosystems currently are similar, but Romania is still larger. It's larger, and this gives us an edge into being more visible, and we can see also the How to Web becoming the reference conference in Central Eastern Europe. I'm not really nationalist about this, because in technology, honestly, we are really, how can I say, we are very, very eco-distance to any other ecosystems. But I guess this space now with Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Poland, it's a bit now getting more and more homogeneous with us, with the others, because they had some, they were ahead a little bit before, and it becomes extremely attractive, not only for VCs from the West, but funny enough, a lot of investors from the Far East, Japan, Taiwan. These guys actually place a lot of bets, and you'll see more and more activity, and lots of other and lots of capital that will come from Far East in Eastern Europe. And I will not enter into details but it becomes really attractive, because I'm just conscious of on time. So but I have some opinions in this, and we might assist in the next 5 to 10 years to a very powerful rise of this Eastern Europe in technology. So
we just have to be patient. One final thought? Or not, right? Tell us a bit, one final line about what's next coming from LENDOX.
Next from LENDOX, many things. I mean, we do lots of stuff, but of course we try to now focus in capturing more customers. That's something extremely important in order to be able to evolve. We need to validate every day, next day, that our technology is really proposing a good value proposition, and customers are willing to pay for this value prop that we are creating. And we are still in a low maturity phase. We are between seed and Series A, so we are in that space where we need to push further. But in terms of what's coming next is that we are a visionary team, that's for sure. And all the time, every day, we have at least the eyes of what will be the financial services in 5 years from now. And now, for example, in the labs, with the help of a grant from European Commission and with a team of researchers, with people from University of Bern, Professor Jurgo Strider or Branka Hoide, or people from University of Twente, Professor Marcos, and professors from Babeș-Bolyai University, Codruța Mare, Ștefana Belbe. We are working on a product that actually will be embeddable into currencies. We think things will shift in the way regulations are now pushing and controlling the financial services, and we think the whole paradigm will shift with the involvement of AI, with the replacements of jobs, with the high pace of 10x on every 6 months. Moore law, it's already done. And I think we make a bet on a technology that will be quite embeddable in lots of financial services, not necessarily in institutions and gatekeepers, but in actually money, digital money, and many other stuff, including lending first, and then even other type of transactions in financial services.
Great journey ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
And if you're just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive Podcast on your YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.